Music pros. Okay. Can you guys still hear me and see me over there? Hi, nice to see you.
Hi.
And I think your slide may appear first. I can't remember, but I'm just gonna be, going back and forth with the presentation starts.
Okay.
I don't see the screen anymore, but I can see people walking in. Can you still hear the music? I can't hear the music anymore.
Yeah, I can't hear the music.
Okay. I just let her know. Can't hear the music. Hello to everyone logging in. We're going to start in just a moment, in about 2 minutes here. I see moms are still signing on, so thank you for your patience. We're trying to give people a second to log in. And then we'll dive into today's topic about self-care, specifically real self-care. So we'll do our intros in a second. I don't want to do your intro. We'll do our intros in a second so you can know who we are, what we do. But I'm gonna definitely be keeping it real with you guys because I feel like self-care is thrown around a lot nowadays. But what it actually looks like is different for everyone, and it has to be realistic to be sustainable. So I look forward to talking about that today. And again, just want to say welcome to those of you who are logging in and give us about 1 to 2 more minutes here to let you sign on. Okay, we can go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started and just say hello again. So welcome to those of you who are still signing on, to those of you who have been patient, thank you for your patience. We're going to officially begin. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, then hand the mic over to the co-leader of this conversation for today. So my name is Christina Lumpkin. I'm a wife and a mother of 3.
Recording in progress.
Uh-oh. Hello, hello. I'm a wife and a mother of 3. My oldest is almost 7. I also have a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old son. So my daughter is 7 and 5 and 2. The short version is when I first started getting into wellness and health and self-care and fitness, it was really more about me understanding what I was doing, honestly, during my own pregnancy and knowing that I wanted to be active, but didn't know what that looked like. I wanted to understand more about how do I stay safe and how do I educate other moms, because I've always been extremely active as an athlete. I was active through high school and also collegiately. I competed in basketball. So when I got pregnant, I was like, I want to keep training. I want to keep doing the things that I love. And I know I can, but I want to know what the parameters look like. Long story short, it started off with me wanting to educate other people and, of course, myself. But then I went on to get certified in pre and postnatal fitness. Then I started getting more specialized in core rehab or postpartum core healing for moms. And then I started getting into the holistic coaching aspect of understanding that, in order to exercise, there's other life stuff that comes with it, and making sure there's a mind-body connection, making sure that moms understand how to feel their body, how to, eat well and nourish your body through your pregnancy, when you're nursing, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kept evolving more and more and diving deeper into my craft and making sure that I could have as much information as possible to share with other moms like yourself. But more importantly, what's important for me is making sure I teach moms and encourage moms to do things that are really sustainable. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more again about like what realistic self-care looks like, what it means, making sure you understand that it's important to not only take care of yourself, but make sure you actually make it a daily practice, a daily habitual type of lifestyle. So I definitely am looking forward to this panel today. And I'm going to pass it over to my other co-host over here. Unmute your microphone.
Rookie mistake. Hello, everybody. I'm Damiana. Christina, thank you for that introduction for yourself. I know that Marie had told me all about you before, but it's really cool to hear you speak volumes, to what you do as an athlete. That definitely resonates with me too, and it's just really beautiful what you're doing because it's so needed in this space. How do we continue to move our bodies and continue to focus on our health and prioritizing our overall well-being? So I think it's really, really beautiful. I'm glad that you're here. I am a retired professional athlete as well, played basketball. So I know that we have this athlete mentality in common. So that's really cool about this conversation that we'll dive more into, I'm sure. But retired athlete turned two-time best-selling author of Help My Husband's Hardly Home and Help I Need a Break from Motherhood. I also am an international speaker and a somatic and mindfulness coach. So what that really means that I could talk more about what somatics is and how that kind of relates to self-care, which is a word that I don't really like, but prioritizing practices is what I like to call them. Just looking at it in a different way, let's reinvent it, let's reframe it, and let's have a different perspective on what taking care of yourself looks like and what nourishing your body looks like, what loving on yourself looks like. How do you mother yourself while you're mothering your children? Because it's so important that you're mothering yourself and that you have other people mothering on you too. So what I do and help other women and clients is really helping them rock motherhood with grace and ease, learning how to still, the mothers who are left to do the rest, how do you still show up for yourself and show up for your babies? Because we all know you can't pour from an empty cup, right? But what does that really look like on the day-to-day? What does that actually feel like in your body? What does that realistically, I'm gonna say realistic, practically look like? And how is it sustainable? So we definitely are in alignment here with how does this a long-term transformative thing that is just becoming a part of our daily life and not just something that is oh, let's get a mani and massage, because self-care and prioritizing yourself looks dramatically different depending on what season of motherhood that you're in. Also, I am a mother and wife. I have how old are these babies now? 5, 3, and 1. Just turned 1. So we're in a different phase of what my prioritizing practices look like, right? Right now I'm up way before everybody else, at 4 or 5 a.m. Finally got sleep through the night. So it looks different versus others versus beyond. So I'm just excited to get the conversation started, share some practical tips and tricks that I use, I teach my clients, and really just have you guys input to and what specifically do you guys need and what are your trouble spots that we can iron those out, bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be so we can get you guys, we can get you there. So.
And now I'm trying to unmute. I'm I want to talk, but I want to unmute. I try to mute in between when there's long pauses so there's no background noise. But thank you for that. And I think I know we're going to be making sure we're talking about tips, but I think it'd be great to rewind a little bit because what you said is what I was thinking about also. Well, 2 things actually. The first thing is, like you said, you and I both have a unique experience in coming from an athletic background and being competitive and having that love for health and fitness. So I wanted to start first though and just say everyone may not share that same background, that same mentality, but it really doesn't matter. It's really about starting with where you are first and foremost. But what you were saying about understanding the season you're in, I think it's important to start there because my babies are just sliding out of the infant phase. And I will say my kids are close enough in age that basically for 5 years, it was baby, sleep, baby, sleep. It was these phases of what you're describing there. Because my oldest 2 are not quite, they're 22 months apart. So literally my daughter celebrated her first birthday and it was another baby's coming. And I'm oh, wow, we're doing this again, And then there's a 3-year gap between my 5-year-old and now 2-year-old, which is, I was thank goodness for that little extra break right there. But I'm at a new season of my life. Yeah. So the past 2 years have been really intense. And the way that I view self-care, I just want to say, depending on the season you're in, it can be very humbling to get very real about what self-care looks like. I definitely, you know, yes, please share. Those of you who are logged in, please comment in the chat. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Please feel free to comment in the chat, ask questions, talk to us so we can respond to any questions you may have. I think though the biggest key before you can even begin talking about self-care is understanding the season that you're in, being real about it, being present. When I think back to where I was, like a 2 under 2, or I think about where I was during COVID with all three of my kids at home, versus now that my kids are now off into school for the first time and they're all out the house. And, I am going to get my nails done regularly and things like that, but I wasn't doing that when my daughter was a newborn and I had a 2-year-old, you know what I mean? So it looks very different. I think it's important for moms to understand before you start making a whole list of goals. Okay. Like before you go on Instagram and look for inspiration, just take a moment and be real about yourself. What season am I in? What, what's realistic and sustainable? What support do I have? Like, do you have childcare to actually leave your baby to get out and go get a massage? Because if the answer is no, then you may have to be more creative at home. Take a moment, I would say, to everyone to kind of do some inventory and be realistic. What you see may or may not work for you. So I just want to encourage everybody to be realistic and start there first, because like I can feel myself going through a change in seasons. And when I'm working with clients, every chapter looks very, very different. Every chapter is different. Every season is very different.
I fully agree with that too. And so when you are assessing, it's always good to do baseline work so you know exactly where you're starting, where you're trying to go. So you can get really clear on the season that you're in, first and foremost, right? I know with my kids being 18 months apart, 2 under 2, and then having a gap of about 2 years, 2.5 years, having another one too, you finally feel like you get your body back, you have yourself. They're not like as clinging and attached to you. I breastfed for like still breastfeeding for like a 5-year marathon plus. I'm homeschooling my kids also too. So it's like, what does this look like? So first and foremost, identifying, I love what you said, identifying where you're at, what season you're in. Next, taking that inventory, right? And when you're taking inventory, take a look at your complaints. Your complaints are a huge indicator of what you are missing and what you need. And in that, you are able to look at that and like, okay, what you said to, what support do I have? What support do I need? What do I need to make X, Y, and Z happen, right? If you're complaining a lot about, I'm so tired, okay, I know you might be up every single 2 or 3 hours, but how can you prioritize rest versus sleep, right? You might not be able to get sleep, but you can rest in little pockets throughout your day. When you are, at night, is your mind going crazy and running rampant? Because that's not rest, even if you're laying there sleeping. If you go down and you're going to bed and you don't have proper sleep hygiene, or your mind is racing, if you have that, the angst, if you have the fear, whatever's keeping you up at night where you're not able to sleep at night when baby's sleeping, or if you are just not getting restful, restorative sleep, take a look at that, right? So maybe if you guys could drop in the chat some of your complaints, like what do you find yourself complaining about? And a lot of my clients will complain about maybe their partner, their husband isn't doing much, their partner is not helping out. They feel resentful towards their husband because, their life seems like it's been unchanged and their life is, rocked upside down and has been since they found out they were pregnant. Maybe it's this freedom that their husband has. They can just pick up and go, okay, yeah, I'm just going to leave the house now. When it's like, when you got to leave, it's like, oh, I got to get this in this bag. And I got to make sure and do the whole mental gymnastics over here to make sure that we're good. Right? So take a look at your complaints and what you complain about. Maybe Christina, do you want to chime in and like, what are some of your maybe most frequent complaints or stuff that's just most, I don't know, just ringing in your ears?
Yeah. So first of all, I love my husband. I love that man. So
of course,
I love that man. But what you described, I think, is something to also start with too. So I think the complaints, but also support is a really big one. So 3 things that come to mind. So number one, as far as complaints, what do you need? what do you need? What's lacking? What are you not getting enough of? Sometimes it's actual physical sleep. Maybe you need to revisit potentially having a sleep schedule in your family. Maybe it's taking power naps when you baby naps, which I know is always hard. Like, oh, I can't. But like, really, honestly, you can sometimes. Sometimes you can just make a choice to get to the shores later to take that nap. But sometimes it's also what you were saying, it's more than just the physical rest, like the sleep, it's also the mental and emotional rest. It's having time away from your children who we love and adore, but it's draining when you're nonstop all day long on the go. Do you have time to physically detach a little bit? Do you have time to, you know, just in the morning, drink your coffee before your kids get up, eat that breakfast, take 15 minutes to um, listen to a podcast in the morning. Those small things. Like, what are some small daily habits and small time slots you can protect that you feel like will help to recharge you from the inside out? So I think it starts with, again, what are you not getting enough of? What's making you feel unbalanced, and working from there. But what you said also is another important thing. You need to take time to really understand your support systems and or lack thereof, because in order for you to physically detach from home, shout out to all the homeschooling moms. I tried it. I'm just not. I re- I am a retired homeschooler survivor, and this is my story. Okay, love these babies. I was like, I cannot. I love y'all, but I'm not. I tried. We did it for 2 years during COVID, and then I was like, I love you, but you must go. Okay, spread your wings, fly away. So,
And
it's a
that's
lot. It's a
okay.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot, and you gotta be real about it, right? But homeschooling moms, as you're planning out all this stuff for your kids, are you on the calendar? Like, we're notorious for making these calendars, right? You have the kids schedule, what you have to do around the house, all the chores, but you're nowhere on there, and you're walking around mad at the world. Okay, and I'm saying this, I've done before. You're mad at your husband, your spouse, your partner, whoever, right? Oh, well, you're over here living your life. You don't care about me. No, actually, they're living their lives, minding their business, because you've created a schedule and not included yourself in it. Okay. Also, delegation is key. If you want to have support and you want your partner involved, you have to actually sometimes require it. So just a reminder for those of us who are learning to speak up a little bit, because I used to be teen, I'm strong, I can do myself. That's no longer me. I am not every woman. It is not in me. I don't want to be a superhero. Okay. Yes, I want the help. I had to learn, like, sometimes my husband is not a mind reader. Your partner is not a mind reader. Your mother-in-law is not a mind reader. Okay. And there's always different dynamics with different relatives and friends. And I understand that. But if you don't vocalize what you want, you can't expect someone else to do it for you magically. And also, gentle reminder, when you ask someone for help, it may not be what you want, but you can take it or leave it. Sometimes it means adjusting those priorities. Sometimes it means, before I got on this call today, I asked my husband to make dinner. If I make dinner, I said, there's 2 pizzas, put them in the oven. Don't burn anything. Good luck, right? When I get back, it'll probably be pizza everywhere. There'll be stuff everywhere, but the kids will be fine. They'll be fed, and they're gonna go to bed. And I'm just gonna be quiet when I walk in there and see the mess, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's one less thing for me to do, and I get to talk to you guys instead of worrying about the bedtime routine. Okay, so those expectations, but it starts with you vocalizing. Also, to my single moms, just want to reiterate to you guys, it's going to be a little bit different, but encouraging you guys to get creative and build that village. A lot of times, one of the things I've heard, especially for clients too, is like, I'm a single mom, so I just don't get a break. And it's true. You are the default parent in that scenario. You don't have someone else to necessarily physically step in, but maybe it's time to explore more childcare. Maybe instead of trying to do homeschooling, maybe you have some days that you do daycare. Look at your budget, look at your resources. Are there co-ops in your area? Get creative with building your village as well. And the other thing that comes to mind too is systems, like those household systems. So we talked about a calendar, but when you're thinking about rest, for example, sometimes it's a matter of putting yourself on a schedule. Other times it's a matter of rearranging other things around you. Like, for example, if you want to actually be in the bed at 9 p.m., you can't wait until 8:30 to start cleaning. Like, I had a client one time I had put on timeout who used to deep clean a couple times a week. And I was like, stop, we're not doing that. You're going to pick, maybe once a week to do it, but we're not going to do a daily deep cleaning. Take that time block, just erase it off the calendar, move this here, move that there. and she created a new system, a new calendar. She started delegating, these chores on these days, these tasks on these days. A lot of us are guilty of trying to cram in this long to-do list. And then by the time we get to bed, we're not sleeping. Like you said, we're anxious, we're mad at our partners, we're burned out because we're honestly trying to do too many things, which I know have to be done. But sometimes it's also like, hey, if you have the resources, I'm exploring it myself. Like, hey, can you try a laundry service? Instacart. Hello, Instacart. Instead of going to the grocery store, sometimes if you can do that, sometimes I can go to the store quickly and get back. But other times I can save myself a couple of hours and, quite frankly, time and gas money. Just order it online, put in Instacart, and it'll be there. Maybe so trying to cook meals every single night. Some nights are pizza night. Some nights are order from the deli night. Sometimes maybe every week you have a couple meals that you you plan to have, like meal prep services, right? So encouraging you guys, it's not about doing more things. Sometimes the way to have more rest, more peace, more freedom, more ease, again, one, do the inventory, two, ask for help, accept the help, but three, evaluate your systems a little bit. Like a lot of us, I think, are just taught to do and be everything, and it's a lie. Okay, it's not cute. You'll be over here stressed out. You don't have to do and be all the things. So encouraging you guys to also think about systems, because until you get real about what's on your plate and what needs to change and move it around, the actual self-care practices that we'll talk about today, they won't even necessarily fit, and they won't even feel good if you don't really have space for them.
I love that, Marie, and I also love what you put in the chat as well too. Sometimes it is easier when you have a mom village. It really is, and I have like a whole chapter in my first book about creating a village when you don't have the physical support. And I want to speak to single moms or people who are solo parenting or default parenting. That's what resonates most with me. Happily married, but my husband is a basketball player professionally, so he is unavailable a lot of times, especially like this. I'm speaking more to first time dad, first time mom. I'm like emotionally, physically, like just not around and not able to be. And so with that, I've had to learn to create systems and to create a lifestyle that works for us, where I am the default parent, where I am the primary, most of the time, caregiver. We live in Japan. We're based in the US and Arizona. Right now we're in Thailand traveling, me and the girls, and I see the boy too. So the little baby, three of us, what if the four of us traveling together around Asia for the next 3 weeks total? Like, so just finding ways to make your situation work for you. I want to speak to that a little bit too, because I'm all for the support, right? The physical support. I'm all for the resources, outsourcing when you can, on the laundry and the meals. Sometimes that's just not available. And it's okay, because you can make it work for you. I'm a firm believer that no matter your circumstance, you can find a solution. You actually are the solution, because you are the resourceful person, right? You are the resilient one. And in that resourcefulness and that resiliency, you're going to create something that works for everybody in your family, which I know is a huge undertaking. It can be seen as a burden, but it can be so empowering to find something that works for your family and works for you. And with that, that really means using the nuggets of time that you already have and kind of either reallocating them, reassessing them, and creating like some non-negotiables. So I have a couple of soul assignments for you already. They're building up in my head as we're having this conversation. They're basically little optional homeworks, just something for you guys to think about and take action on after you leave this discussion, because I'm all about taking action. You can't make change. You can't make sustainable change. You can't make transformation if you don't take a step, take your next right step. Maybe your next right step looks like answering these questions and journaling them down, right? What are your complaints? Another one is, how do I want to spend my time? What do I want to spend my time doing? Because I know for me, I don't want to spend it cleaning and cooking. I do those things because if I don't do them, we can't operate and move, and it just piles up and it's a pigsty. But That's not how I want to spend. I want to spend my time traveling like what I'm doing right now. I want to spend time laughing and being with my babies and creating the life around your values is going to be huge. So what are your values are another really great thing too. And finally, it's how much time do I actually have? Because you've mentioned this before, Christina. We get super ambitious, right? I'll do all the stuff when the kids go to bed, right? As soon as they go to bed, I'm going to clean, I'm going to meal prep for the next day. I'm also going to read, I'm going to take a bath, and then I'm going to go to bed. Honestly, you have like a 2 to 3 hour window of where after they go to bed, it's like maybe you're doing stuff. I'm at the point in my season where like after the kids go to bed at 7, I'm off the clock. I'm not doing anything else except for something that fills me up, unless I like have to do something. That's just where I'm at. And that's kind of how I've been after a year in the motherhood. I realized that the evenings are my time and it's my peaceful, I'm going to protect my peace. So that's what boundary I'm holding. Another question, soul assignment. What are your non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables? What are you protecting? And with that too, like I said, with the structure and the way that my household is set up right now, and my husband is gone, sometimes months at a time, sometimes weeks at a time, sometimes days at a time. I have a constant like schedule. Of course, there's ebb and flow and there's variation, but typically from 12:30 to 2:30 is quiet time in my house. I finally gotten everyone on the same-ish schedule, kids-wise. My 5-year-old, she has quiet time. She's not much of a napper, but she's independently playing by herself. I am unavailable, and I've made it abundantly clear. I love you so much. I cannot wait to play with you. You're here. We set up for 10 minutes, we'll play or whatever. And I'm like, when this timer goes off, I am going to take time for myself because it's so important that I come back and I'm ready to do X, Y, and Z after quiet time, right? You said you wanted to paint after. Okay, I need my space and my time. And she understands that. My 3-year-old also does too. She knows, all right, well, I'm gonna sit in my room. Sometimes she naps because it's every fifth day. I feel like it's weird. I don't know. And she also knows too, I'm gonna be in here quiet. I gotta stay in my rooms. And when I stay in my room afterwards, then we get to pick what we do next. And I make it like that's incentive almost too for them. They get to choose what we're doing after quiet time, whether it's we're going to the park or we're doing activity or we're doing sensory play or whatever it looks like. They know that. And then the baby, of course, we're kind of at his mercy right now, but he's pretty good for a good hour, like 2 hour stretch. So I make sure to do whatever I need to do earlier in the day too. And also knowing yourself is another really great thing. Soul assignment, when do you have the most energy in your day?
Yes.
And then leverage your natural rhythm and your cycle. For me, I like to get up early before the house. I know in the beginning, when I had a newborn all over again, I was so frustrated because I was like fighting against what was my natural rhythm and what's baby's rhythm. And I had to figure out like, I got to thug it out and just be on baby's rhythm for 6 months or so until we can kind of find something that we both like. And then now we can get up early. Also, I know that if it doesn't get done before 1, 2, the likelihood of it getting done dwindles down significantly. So that means my movement, whatever movement feels good to you, needs to happen in the morning or during that quiet time as a last resort. But I like to just sit and do nothing during that time. Another soul assignment, just write these down, honestly, because these are just coming off of my brain. But are just great questions for you just to ask yourself is what type of movement do I enjoy doing? How do I enjoy moving my body? For a lot of my time after I retired from basketball playing, I didn't want to see a weight room. I didn't want to see weights. I didn't want to do any type of strength training or conditioning or like running. I wanted to just be a sack and just do nothing. Then I got an itch to move again. And that looked like, okay, yoga. I could tap back into my yoga because I also am certified yoga instructor and breathwork instructor. And I did that at the end of my professional basketball career to like improve my performance and to recover and just find different ways my body wasn't physically hurting all the time. Mm-hmm. So what movement feels good to you? What do you enjoy doing? Maybe it's some trap Zumba or those like step classes where I don't know, whatever incorporates and lights you up. Maybe it's cycling. Personally, I can't stand cycling. I'm staying far away from it, right? So is it yoga? Is it bar? Is it Pilates? Is it high intensity? Is it just being outside? Is it walking? Is it stretch? Like, how do you like to move your body? Is it boxing? That was a big thing for me too. And it goes in waves, right? You might be obsessed with something for 3 months or for, the season of where you're at in your postpartum journey. And then it shifts, right? Because now I'm back and like doing resistance training and I love it so much. But you asked me that 5 years ago, get out of here. I don't want to see you wait. I'm cool. So finding what you enjoy doing and doing more of that. And also, in addition to movement, just in general, what do you enjoy doing? I know I'm throwing so much at you, but I just want to pack it in, just like writing all these prompts down so you can take the time after this call to sit down and journal. Maybe it looks like journaling one of these before you go to bed for the next 2 weeks. I feel like I just gave you 14 different questions to answer, like what do you enjoy doing? Pre-baby, what were things that you were doing that you're no longer doing right now? Because I guarantee you, majority of your source of exhaustion and burnout is because you're not doing things that you enjoy. You're not doing things that are fulfilling you. And I firmly believe that motherhood is the best, most important thing in the world. It's not a job. I don't think it's, I guess you could be a professional mother. Yes, it's your career, right? It is hands down the most important thing. You are having a hand in shaping the future, instilling the values, right? Creating and raising kind humans that are going to contribute to the society in whatever ways that they deem that they can contribute, right? And you have a hand in all of that, which is so important. And while that is beautiful, you also need to have an identity outside of being a mother because you were a woman first and foremost. And then maybe, wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever, and mother. I think that it's so important in that order too. It's individual, partner, and then mother. Not saying that you don't love your kids any less. I think that that structure yields for you being the best mother that you can be. So you have an identity outside of being a mother. Who is she? Right? If you can't quite encompass and embody that right now, who do you want her to be? Who do you see her being? And taking parts of your old life, and you have to shed your old self. We go through a whole rebirthing process as we birth humans into this world too. But how can you incorporate little pieces of that into your life now? For me, I traveled. Because I played basketball all over Europe. And I love doing that. And I backpacked around in college. Here we are, taking our little tour around Asia, me and the 3 kids under 5. I know I'm crazy, but like it's really what gives me energy. It's what fuels me, I love yoga. It's a meditation. And that's transformed now. I don't have a full-on mat practice in the season of my life, but I'm doing the breath work every single day. And I'm incorporating these somatic modalities, which I'd love to share more about in a little bit too. And I can do that stuff virtually anywhere, anytime, no equipment needed, even with my kids running around on top of me, breastfeeding, I can make it work for myself. So I just encourage you to take something that you used to do before and how can you reinvent it and rework it so that it works now into your life. So that's my very long rant, but I just know it's so possible. And you might feel stuck right now. You might feel like you're drowning. You might not know where to start, but we're here and I'm here. And please, if you want to message me privately on this chat as well too, I promise you there is a solution out there. We can find something that will work for you. You got this. You're doing a way better job than you know. You really are.
Absolutely. I think that's a great segue into some self-care ideas and tips. And I think though, before we do that again, just to reiterate, we talked about it a couple of times, but in case people have logged on also, an important key for self-care, making sure it's sustainable and that it feels good and it actually works for you, is understanding where you are. So I think just to kind of summarize some of the the assignments you gave also, you know, where are you right now? What do you need? And how are you going to get from point A to point B? But more importantly, you know, what actually will realistically help you reach those goals. So like in this case, we're talking earlier about, you know, what are your complaints? What you're not getting enough of? What do you need to understand, like from an inventory standpoint? So in this case, for example, if your complaint is, oh, I'm tired, again, can we revisit our family routine around bedtime? Can we, like you said, sometimes the fatigue is not just sleep, it's that you're mentally drained, you're not doing things that you love, right? So, you know, take some time, ask yourself, like right now, on a, like my thing too with adding some more assignments, you know, every single day, do you have at least one thing that you do for yourself? And by one thing, it can be small. Okay. A lot of us, those of you who have logged in, we have a habit of wanting to reach the stars, which it sounds great in theory, but it will leave you frustrated. If you set too many goals at one time, if you try to overcommit to, I'm going to start doing a Sunday brunch with my friends every week, but you don't have childcare, it's going to stress you out. Okay. So don't set goals or strive for things that may not be realistic in this season. Literally sit down and say, okay, you know, and be concrete. Okay. Don't just say, I'm just gonna wake up and see what happens today. No, the day before, that week, however far you plan out. Okay. I'm type A, I'm gonna plan for the whole week, every single week. Okay. You know, every week I know, like every day, for example, during the week I know, okay, when you were saying boxing is kind of my therapy. It's what I do. I don't compete anymore. I don't play basketball, but I will get in that ring. I'm gonna play some trap music. I'm gonna be aggressive. Everybody's looking at me crazy and I don't care. That's my time that I'm not somebody's wife, somebody's mama. I'm literally just Christina and I can be unapologetically me, right? So I know, okay, during the week, I'm doing that. I'm exercising. On the weekends, I'm going to watch trash TV. I'm going to put it on there like, boom, nap time, you know, TV time, right? So ask yourself, do you actually have actual tangible self-care tasks, like daily tasks, you know? And again, think small, think realistically, write them down. You know, when I go to a couple years ago, before I started boxing, for example, self-care for me when I was homeschooling with my babies and still breastfeeding, nursing, it looked like, okay, some days I'm gonna get up early and go to the gym, but the other days I used to do stroller workouts, get my kids. I would get them. Sorry, can you guys hear me? My earphone just died. Okay, so I used to have alternate days where some days I would go to the gym by myself on my own time and do my own thing. But other days, get the kids, put them in a stroller, we're walking. So we're walking, I'll do some squats and lunges, do a sprint here and there, but I'm just moving, I have my music going. The kids are quiet, you know, shout out to the moms again, if you're a homeschooling mom and or, you know, single mom, you gotta get creative. You don't have someone there all the time, that's okay. Put the kids in the stroller when the weather is nice, if you have the space to do, you know, get creative. But sometimes self-care also looks like getting out the house, getting fresh air. Um, Going to the grocery store for your family is not self-care, but it is an escape. So I'll allow it. But you know, I encourage you guys to do things that literally make like you've been saying, you know, make you feel good. I'm gonna stop at Dollar Tree or the dollar store and spend $10 on myself for things that I like. Then I'm gonna swing by and get a smoothie. Then I'll go to the grocery store, you know, or, you know, every single week, pick something you can do. I'm going to just buy one thing for myself. A lot of us are every single day. Like I know everything is so expensive. As soon as I go outside, there's gas, there's food. It's like we're spending all this money on our families. And then we're like, wait, when's the last time you bought a bra for yourself? Because that's self-care. Who needs a bra? Raise your hand if you didn't. If you need new bras, for all the moms who have nursed and their boobs have gone up 3 cups, then down 2, then up 1. So, because one day I was a D, then I was a C. I don't know. I don't know where I am anymore. But this year I started buying bras. Right? You know, maybe it's getting that haircut. Maybe it's getting the long hair. Maybe it's getting the wig. I don't know what it is for you. But sometimes self-care is that small. So I'm not saying you shouldn't try to go to brunch and you shouldn't go to the nail appointment. You shouldn't try to book the vacation. Those are all great things. But okay, yay, I see comments. Yeah, talk to us. But in the chat, you know, drop below some of the things that you're doing right now that you enjoy. So there's more ideas. Or, you know, as we're talking, think about, you know, what are some tangible things you can do? Because sometimes self-care looks like going to the store and buying underwear and bras and a new jumper.
Boom. You want that new sundress you've been talking about getting, and also too, not to go off topic, but sometimes self-care looks like, really being present with your body in the season that it's in as well. A lot of us have clothes, no shade. Someone's clothes in your closet, just let them go. I'm not saying you shouldn't have body goals, be your own goals, do what makes you happy. Okay. But I personally don't believe that health and wellness and goals are a size. I am very fit and active, but the person I was 7 years ago, those clothes are gone. I let them go. Weight has gone up and down. Things have shifted. Okay. I didn't have hips. I got a little bit now, and I'm going to hold on to them. So the wardrobe has evolved. All right. Even things that I can fit, they don't fit. You know what I mean? Like, I could squeeze into it, but I can't breathe and I can't eat. So that too, self-care looks like going through that closet, making sure you feel comfortable. It feels like, instead of, oh, I don't want to wear a bathing suit, go find a bathing suit that feels good for you. Get the bathing suit, get the wrap, get the sundress, take some time to pour into yourself. So by no means am I saying for you guys to just go spend a bunch of money. I don't want anybody in trouble because they have all these boxes coming through Amazon and whatnot. I'm trying to look at comments right here, but sometimes self-care are those smaller things. I am coming to the slate. Reading a comment. I am not sure if you all covered self-care practices in the first 2 weeks following childbirth. Oh, okay. Let's do that too. Yeah. So we talked about a little bit, and earlier we're talking about how you have to be really intentional about the seasons that you're in. So thank you for that, because if you're in that early season, those early weeks, those early months, self-care will look very different. So self-care may look like, and feel free to chime in over there. Sometimes self-care will look like, reevaluating that routine so you can get to bed at a decent hour. I'm not sure if you're nursing, put in the comments, if you're nursing, sometimes it means, nursing, for those of you open to it, I used to co-sleep, can you nurse? Can you co-sleep? Can you lay down at certain times of the day with your baby and just, kick your feet up a little bit? Self-care during the early weeks that I used to love is, I said a few minutes ago, is like getting out the house. Put that baby in a stroller and walk. When I tell you, your mental health will be boosted with some vitamin D and fresh air, outside, again, depending where you are in the weather circumstances. If you can go for a daily walk, without the baby is great if you can, but even if you can't, carrier and strollers do miracles. I had a client one time who she wasn't able to walk because it was cold in her area, but I was telling her, go to the mall, put your kid in the stroller, in the carrier, etc. Walk around the mall. Just walk, get some laps. Sometimes it's as simple as like you just need fresh air. And I know if you have a newborn, you may not be around crowds, and that's fine. But depending where you are, let me know what city you're in as well. I'm in Atlanta, so we have belt lines here. You can just go walk on the belt line, go to the park. You can walk around your neighborhood. Self-care also, and Damiana was saying this earlier, like, is also protecting your time later in the day. So even with the newborn, I know you're interrupted a lot, but even though you're getting up in between those feedings, are you actually resting? So like, are you actually physically sitting still? Are you watching a show that you like? Are you sitting and painting your toes? Are you, maybe also FaceTiming a friend? Call your friends. If call your mom friends, call your friends, call someone who makes you feel good. Sometimes self-care looks like not being isolated and, and not just be sitting at home with your baby, who we love these humans, but again, it is nonstop, and you need those breaks. You need those moments. You need that fresh air. You need to talk to actual adults, especially, my homeschooling moms. I love my kids, but I was like, I need an adult. I can't, you can go weeks and not talk to adults. Besides, like I was talking to my husband, but I'm like, besides doing these kids, I need to talk to people like outside the world, So drop in the comments below if that's helpful. If you want some ideas. But for my moms who have like newer, younger babies, I say, get creative, and it's okay to start where you are. If it means going to the mall, going to the park, if you have the childcare, then use it. And I want to encourage you, because I don't know if you heard it earlier too, but sometimes we're over here secretly drowning and we're like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I don't have help. But sometimes you may have help. Again, single moms is a little bit different. Default moms, I understand you may not have someone that's there all the time, but if you're someone right now who has a spouse, a partner, you have family, you have friends, you have daycare, and you're not utilizing those things, you cannot be mad at those people. And I like what you said earlier. Sometimes we see it as a burden of like, oh my God, I have to do everything, which it is exhausting. The mental load of motherhood is real. Like I'm tired of creating schedules. It can be exhausting, right? But if I don't do it, I can't walk around my situation. Like if I don't speak up and I'm always mad at my husband and I'm resentful toward him, it's taking a toll on me and it's not solving anything. But if I just sit down and say, hey, I need help with these things, or hey, I'm going to create a schedule for the kids, or hey, I'm going to get them in a daycare or whatever it is, or like you were saying earlier, going through those family routines. So, if you have the help, cool. If you don't, get creative, put things in place. But even if your baby is super small and clingy, okay, let them cling to you while you're outside in fresh air. Let them cling while you're at the mall. Let them cling as you buy yourself some new clothes that fit your, get the nursing bra. Okay, let them cling while you go on Amazon and get things that you enjoy, and get the pumping machine that'll make your life easier. That's still self-care too. So self-care is still those small things. And I know our time is getting limited, so I want to pass the mic back to you about more concrete things. But I think sometimes self-care gets taken out of context, constantly as being the big things, and it's just not. I mean, it really is, like you said, self-care is exercise. It's exercise in a way that feels good for your body. Self-care is movement, it's breathing, it's stillness, it's taking a nap. Self-care, eating a good meal. Self-care, we're over here taking care of newborns. I did breastfeed all 3 of my kids. I made it, Lord have mercy, I did, and I don't regret it, but I was like, ooh, thank goodness. Self-care is making sure, especially everybody, but especially nursing moms, making sure you're eating enough. People are over here like, I don't know, I'm so tired. You're over here eating like 500 calories a day, feeding a human, starving, and your energy is just, you don't have any, So sometimes self-care is, and like we said earlier, you maybe you can Instacart, so you don't have to go out and about, or you have your partner bring something, or whatever the case may be to get it done. But having good meals, having those snacks, filling your body, all of that is self-care too. So I just want to throw that out there, because I think a lot of us are looking for self-care, like, oh, it has to be this big thing, but it's just not. I mean, when my kids were a couple weeks old, self-care was a nap, a good meal, and a stroller walk through the park. Like it can be, those 3 small things can be your self-care as well. So I'm gonna pass the mic back to you before I go on a tangent though. Okay, I'm passing the ball to you.
No, I appreciate it. And I think that I agree with all of those things. I want to take it a step further, or like even a step backward too. I know we always run and gun for like the things that we can be doing, but I want to take a look at prioritizing practices, or self-care, if you want to call it that, in a more intentional way. It all starts with the intention, right? What intention am I setting when I'm going into this? Because you can easily use washing your face as an example, as a way to prioritize yourself, right? The intention that I am clearing, like in the morning, I wash my face. I really don't wash my face at night. I don't have a 7-10 step skincare. I literally splash cold water with my face in the morning. As I'm doing that, I visualize, or I imagine, or I know this water is cleansing and cleaning my skin, and it's a new day, it's a fresh start. So that's how I kind of signify, like, okay, intentionality in that. And this water it's a cleansing. It is. In the morning when I first wake up and I open up my curtains, that's how I signal my body and everything that, like, this is my opening ceremony, right? Looking at moments as ceremony, something that is sacred, something that is precious, something that is intentional. So when I open up the curtains and I say, thank you, Creator. And my kids build in the morning too, like they know. And I hear them, thank you, Critter. I know they jack up the word too, but they say, thank you, Critter. It's just the cutest thing ever. But like, they do it and they know that this is our morning AM routine or our ritual. Maybe it's when you're steeping your tea or brewing your coffee, right? The intentionality, like this is, healing herbs, thank you for healing my body. And then you pour the water and it's whole tea ceremony, and it literally takes an additional 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Incorporating like the somatic modalities. If you have time to come to my session that I'm facilitating, it's in, I don't know the time zones, and it's in a couple days for me. I don't know what day it is in the US, But if you talk to Marie about it, I'm going to go, okay, deeper into somatics and how I use these somatic modalities and what that all means. I encourage you to come to that so I can show you. I wanted to chew you through a quick little sequence right now that you can do any time of the day. And another quick trick that I like to put your hand over your heart and close your eyes. And as you inhale, just call your energy back into your body. Maybe you just visualize, right? You've exerted yourself. You've given away your time, your energy. You've given away so much of yourself to everybody else around you. As you inhale, call the energy back home to your body. Do that one more time. Inhale, calling the energy back to your body. And as you exhale, let go of the things that no longer serve you, the things that you're carrying that you don't need to carry. Other people's energy, expectations, the burden, the weight. Exhale that, let it go. Okay? And open your eyes. And we're going to start just tapping. I'm going to go through one sequence really quickly. Doesn't matter which hand, but you're just tapping on this side of the pinky side edge of your hand, okay? Repeating after me. Even though motherhood is hard, and sometimes I feel like I'm drowning, it's all right, because I am learning to love and accept myself anyway. And even though it's hard to prioritize myself, I know I have to put myself on the list. Doesn't matter where, just as long as I'm on the list. I put myself on my calendar. And even though it's so hard right now, it gets better and it gets easier. Top of the head, the season that I'm in right now, come to the top of your head and tap. Yeah, the season I'm in right now, it's a hard one. Eyebrow point, but I'm gonna make it work. Side of the eye, because I am so resilient. Underneath the eye, I am so powerful. Underneath the nose, and the power I have to make things work for me, I'm using that power right now. Coming to the chin, I am intentional with my time and energy. Collarbone point, I am going to do something that I love. Coming to the side of the rib cage, because I am worthy of this. I am worthy of a life I love. Front of the chest. And I know on my hardest days, I remember, wrist point, I am made for this. That is undeniable. Go ahead and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths, stop tapping. Just remembering your body, coming back to your body, getting out of your head and dropping into your body, because it is so important. You know, we're thinking the mental load. This is a great way to take a break from the mental load right now. I'm going to leave you all here. I'm going to mute, go grab my baby and nurse him because he's crying right now. But I love you all so much. You're doing so much better than you know. I will be right back. I think it's also wrapping up the time, but that's a quick somatic practice. Took maybe a minute that you can do.
Okay. I'll just kind of thank you. I'll just kind of wrap up here and summarize. I know people were logging on and I got some questions about the playback, which in case you didn't see in the chat, this playback will be available. Webinar is recorded, so you have the playback. And I'm going to literally just kind of wrap up for these last 2 or 3 minutes here. And yes, thank you for putting that in there so everybody can see it. It is the Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay, so again, she's in a whole different time zone because she's in Asia bouncing around with her kiddos and hubby traveling. But for those of us in the US, it's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, and we are going to start wrapping up and closing out. Just wanted to summarize a few things in case you logged on late or you're trying to just kind of get an overview of things. But again, feel free to watch the playback. In summary, we talked today about real self-care. Okay, so heavy on the real, because a lot of us tend to think about self-care as the grand gestures, the big things. the really intricate plans. But to reiterate, number one, you need to be intentional about what season of motherhood that you're in right now. I mentioned earlier, my daughter's almost 7, then I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I'm kind of sliding out of the newborn toddler phase into the big kid era. And it is a new season. This is the first time I feel like I can really breathe. My kids are in school, so I'm able to start doing things a little bit differently, right? But for those of you who are in the newborn phase, somebody came in here talking about having a 2-week-old. If your kids are anywhere from like 2 weeks to 2 years old, you have a little one at home, you're homeschooling. If you're in a season in which you're around the clock with your kids, start there first. 7 days old. Oh, okay. So to all the moms who have actual newborns, okay, be realistic, okay? Self-care during the newborn phase looks like taking a shower. If you took a shower, you've already won that day, okay? It's taking a shower and putting on some new clothes for the day because you've had spit up all over you, right? Self-care looks like the naps. It looks like putting the kid in a stroller and going for a walk. It looks like handing your baby to your partner if you can and saying, hey, I need a minute, and just getting in a car and driving to get a smoothie. I mean, self-care does not have to be grand, okay? So be real about where you are in that season. Also, we talked about taking inventory. Take time to identify, number one, what you actually need. So what are your complaints? What's weighing you down? What do you feel like you're not getting enough of? If you're constantly tired, if your body is sore, if you're struggling with anxiety, your mind is racing, that could be something as simple as I need to revisit our family schedule, our sleep schedule. That could be, I need to start taking some naps when my newborn is napping, Even if you're not sleeping, also, rest is not just sleep. Newborn moms, you're getting up every 2 or 3 hours. It's rough. Believe me, I've done it 3 times and it is exhausting. But sometimes rest is sideline while you nurse and watching your favorite show. And when that baby dozes off, you get a power nap, great. But if you don't, it's okay to lay there and be still. Get the laundry a little bit later. It also looks like creating small routines. Please do not compare yourself to anybody on the internet. Okay, that's not the goal. Okay, all the goals on the internet, forget them, throw them away. Okay, take time and do the mini assignments we did. If you want to go back and play back, you can. But take time and do inventory. What do I need? What am I not getting enough of? How do I get those things? So understanding what support do I have in place or need to add? What routines do I need to create to make this work? How do I get from point A to point B? And go ahead, you have something you want to add?
I'm back. See, self-care, like I fit myself in. First, I made sure this is what fuels me, this is what lights me up, doing this type of work, helping other women and empowering other women to empower themselves. It's probably 5 a.m. and I'm on 1,000 and I have this big surge of energy and I'm ready for my day, right? Another thing about support and the goals that you're setting for yourself and how you get there, 3 questions to ask yourself, or like 3 components, right? To bridging the gap from where you are to where you want to be, right? There's accountability, first and foremost, right? Who is holding you accountable? Is it yourself? Is it a coach? Is it a mentor? Is it a co-op? Is it a mom group? Is it the gym workout, the classes that you're signing up for? What is that, right? Accountability, it's huge. The lazy, hardworking athlete in me, I need accountability. I know that if someone else isn't showing up, the likelihood of me showing up significantly dwindles down to like, I got willpower and I got work ethic too, but it's just so much easier when someone else has some skin in the game with you, right? So again, this is accountability. I knew I scheduled this at like 4 a.m. Do I really wake up at 4 a.m. if I don't like have to be up? Probably not, but I knew all you all were gonna be on here. You're my accountability so that I can make time for myself. Everyone else is still sleeping. He's gonna go back down. Then I have my pocket of time too, right? Accountability first and foremost. What type of accountability do you need? The other thing, how you can bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be is it's your community. What does your community look like? As a retired pro athlete, teammates are important and they got me through the hardest of days in college. They made everything work, even when I wanted to quit, right? Your community. Is that a co-op, right? Is that your tribe of women? Is that your family? Like, is that your neighbors? Like, what does your community look like? Is that your mom group? I might have said that already, but community. How do you give yourself community where you have like-minded women and people in your circle that are uplifting and empowering you, that are in alignment with you, that are helping you get to where you want to be and not holding you stuck and holding you energetically hostage to where you are. And, or like to victim or martyrdom, right? And the third one is, what is the third one? Accountability, I said community, and game plan. Strategic, intentional game plan, which we've talked mostly about the game plan. But there's some other components too that I want you to get real with yourself on, like, which one are you missing? Is it accountability? Is it community? Or is it the game plan? Do you know what you need to be doing? You just aren't doing it. That sounds like accountability, right? You have the game plan, maybe you're missing accountability, community. You not have no idea what you need to be doing. Okay, that sounds like you need a game plan, right? And you could be missing all three, one or two, or a combination, but that will also give you some clarity and some insight into what specifically you need, how you can have those needs met, how those complaints can be turned into complaints, into fulfillment.
Perfect summary. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Perfect summary. And just to reiterate also, as we wrap up here, take time to write these things down. A lot of us have a habit, and by write it down, I mean, you can old school journal, you can type it in your phone, in your notes. So I put everything in my notes so I can just kind of brain dump, and have it there. But accountability also looks like putting it tangibly somewhere in writing. If you are struggling with self-care right now, and you're always telling yourself, oh, I'll do this tomorrow, or I'll figure it as I go, that's a problem. The reality is that it's not going to happen until you actually write it and not manifest it, but like put it down, tangibly see it, and start doing the steps. And just to reiterate, we talked about earlier, the steps look like starting where you are. Okay. It looks like, hey, I have a newborn. I'm not able to exercise, but my body wants movement. And I'm just going to walk for 15 to 30 minutes a day. Just walk around the neighborhood. It looks like, we said earlier, just some other small examples. I'm just going to go to the department store, buy the new bras that I want, and buy that pump for my baby. There's so many different small things,
Yeah.
It can also be the convenience of, we talked about in your village. Maybe you don't have the luxury right now of scheduling a brunch that's kid-free with your friends, but maybe you can, get on that FaceTime call your good friend, call your teammate, call your former college roommate, call someone who makes you feel good, that you can, talk to and relate to, call a mom friend. So make sure you're writing down these ideas, write down the daily practices, write down your plan of action, write it down for yourself. And once you have that plan, take time to check in with your village, let them know what you're doing, ask them to hold you accountable, stay connected with other moms like this, join panels, join groups, see if there's local groups in your community, keep in touch with your friends, but make sure that it really does start with you. And we said this earlier as well, a lot of times it may seem like a burden of like, gosh, I have to do everything, but it's really not a burden. It's about empowering you all to understand that you have the power to change your circumstances. You have the power to not walk around feeling exhausted all the time. You have the power, you have everything you need to make sustainable changes. You can literally go from, I am struggling to get through the day, to I'm moving, I feel good, I'm eating well, I'm feeling my body, and I'm saying that as someone who, I've had waning depression. I've definitely struggled with anxiety multiple times. I definitely breastfed on my kids. Like I've gone through the highs, the lows, and all the ugliness of motherhood. Been there, done that. Still have my moments where I spiral. Okay, but what allows me to find this different energy of peace and what we call balance today is just every day. This is my game plan. Every day I'm on the schedule somewhere. So make sure that you take time to not only listen to the playback, but really write these things down. The intentionality will not actually happen until you put it in writing. Also, for those of us who have a very short attention span, use your calendar, use reminders on your phone if you need to. If you're a visual person who wants to put a calendar in your household for you and your family. Maybe you want to put a few sticky notes in your mirror that when you wake up, you can see, hey, good morning. Take time to start your day with your podcast, put those notes in there. In the same way that you schedule appointments for your family and your kids, in the same way that you are scheduling anything else, you are also a part of that. So I'm encouraging you guys to not only do the assignments, but take those assignments and transfer them into daily scheduling habits and behaviors as well. So that's my conclusion right there. But if you want to add anything else, I just want to kind of wrap up and look at these final comments.
For
Encourage
sure. Won't and pour.
Oh, it says, can you repeat where you get the playback? Marie, can you let them know if the playback will be emailed or if they'll need to go on? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Email. Okay, thank you. The playback will
And-
be emailed. If you want to back, get all the questions and assignments, it'll be emailed to you. So.
And then also, I just want to continue to pour into you. I have, and I couldn't find them. I wanted to pull them up on now on the to share my screen, but I have 2 worksheets. It's how to plan your day in 1 hour or less. And it's another worksheet on prioritizing practices, what realistic self-care really looks like, and there are different categories of self-care and some ideas. I want to email those 2 sheets to you, so I will talk to Marie and either I'll email them or she will email them to you all. So you have, again, tangible things to take away from this, in addition to all the soul assignments that I've busted out to you and journal prompts that you can do. You will have worksheets as well so that you can take this information and take action. This is how you transform your life. You are so close to making massive transformation. You don't even realize how close you are. The fact that you're here, showing up live today or watching this replay, you are about to make massive transformation. And I'm so grateful to be a catalyst in this all, helping you get clarity and empowering you to empower yourself. And I look forward to connecting with you all. If any of this stuff resonates, you want to talk more about it, you can find me at kdamiana.com/schedule. We can talk more about this type of stuff or whatever is really going on with you, whatever you're struggling with. If you want to learn more about somatic work, if you want to try more of that EFT tapping sessions around that, really whatever it is that you need, love to have a conversation about it. And I will send you those worksheets, and I would love to hear about the progress that you guys are making too. So please find me, get in contact, and share your experiences. But I love you, love you. I'm Kate Damiana, and I will see you guys so soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So we're gonna wrap up here. Thank you all so much. And also it's in the chat, but we're gonna be emailing you our contact information so you can stay connected with us. Watch the playback, it'll come to your email. You also will get those worksheets in your email as well. Also, those of you who may be interested in some smaller exercise programs, I'll have the core rehab information sent to you, like a little 15-minute webinar. So there are resources coming your way. And you can find me on Instagram at Coach Mom Wife Life. If you're on LinkedIn, Christina Lumpkin. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for joining us. And this playback will come to your email. So let's stay connected. And thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great rest of your evening or morning, depending where you are. Thank you, everyone. And feel free to comment in the chat if you have any last questions as you're signing off. But thank you guys so much. I'm just going to stay for just a minute to make sure there's no lingering questions. If you have any lingering questions, feel free to drop them here as you're signing off. But thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, and thank you for showing up for yourself. Being with us is showing up for yourself. That in itself, it's my pleasure. I'm going to put my social, I'm going to type my socials in here for you guys. 1 second, I'm going to type it because mine's a little long. But my Instagram is at Coach Mom Wife Life. And Damiana, if you want to type yours as well. And I'm also going to put the, those of you who are interested in the core rehab programming, and this will be emailed to you as well. But I'll put them here. And I'll put my LinkedIn as well, just in case you guys just want to have my name to reference. I am active on both. All right, so, okay, so I'm gonna again leave the chat open just for a second here. I see there's some people lingering. Do you all have any other closing questions, feel free to just drop them here. I'm still gonna stay for a couple more seconds. I mean, a couple more minutes. I'm just looking at the chat. The replay will be emailed to you, resources will be emailed to you, and definitely feel free to connect. So the links are in the chat for you guys to follow and connect. Don't forget also Saturday morning will be the somatic session. So that's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of us in the US. I also have another panel coming up on Friday. I forgot to mention that on Friday, I'll do another panel. So if you have anyone to join, feel free to do so. That information will still be coming your way, okay? Okay. All right, everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. I don't see any more questions in the chat. I'm just double checking one more time. And okay.